So much available kitchen advice focuses on products, on purchases, and on the surfaces of things. But if your kitchen space doesn't work for you, if it doesn't support the way you want to cook and live in your house, then it's all a waste of time and money. So let's break down the three major space planning categories of a smart mid-mod remodel. Enough working surfaces in the right places, enough storage in handy locations, and the right kind of comfortable social space that makes it possible to be together in your kitchen. All of this, by the way, is covered in my handy free guide to the 5 essential elements of a great mid-mod kitchen update. Grab it and find a bunch of my other available mid-century update resources at midmod-midwest.com/kitchen, or there's a link in the description of this video. Last week, I was talking about lighting in your mid-century kitchen. Watch that here, by the way. And today we want to talk about the way your kitchen lives. All of your kitchen choices should be tailored to you, to the way you live in your house. One size does not fit all in kitchens any more than it does in t-shirts. And so the kitchen that will suit your household best is not the same kitchen that's going to work for your next door neighbor, for someone else in your family, or for the person whose pretty house showed up in a magazine or on Instagram recently. If you live in a mid-century kitchen, or even in a kitchen that has the same footprint as a mid-century kitchen but was remodeled in the 80s or 90s, super common to do a replace in place where it has that classic mid-century U, but you can tell if the kitchens date from the 90s. You probably suffer from a lack of convenient work surfaces. Even if you have enough counter space theoretically in terms of square footage, it may well be that most of the counter space you have faces a wall and has an upper cabinet above the base cabinet with a counter directly. This means there's not as much space to store things. A lot of people talk to me about how their KitchenAids don't fit underneath their original mid-century upper cabinets. And it also means that as you stand and work at that counter, if you were to lean in to really stir or need something or to reach for something, you might bop your forehead right onto the upper cabinets. This is something that happens to me all the time anyway. Let me know if this is something that happens to you. Comment and say if you've ever bopped your forehead on your upper cabinets. I don't think I'm alone in this. Let's find out. When I'm thinking about a mid-century kitchen, there are a couple of different reasons why I want to create at least some counter space that does not face a wall. One of them is social, and I'll get to that in my social spaces category. Work surface, particularly tucked into a corner or even facing a wall, feels a little hostile to anyone else that's in the room, and it is likely to have something happening over top of you. If you have a peninsula or an island work surface, you're more likely to be able to spread out and to be able to look at distance beyond what's going on. If you have a chance to relocate upper cabinets to another part of the house, is, as I mentioned in my light in kitchens episode last week, to cut a window. So your wall facing work surface becomes an outside facing work surface. Now you can stir and knead and chop with a view. As you're thinking about the work surfaces that are personal to you, you want to think about your daily routines. This is where, as I said a couple of weeks ago, the kitchen work triangle concept feels less useful to me than thinking about the specific work zones which suit your daily life and daily activities. So your needs are unique, but they're probably going to hit these major categories. You're going to want one or several cooking zones near your cooktop range, possibly also separately near your oven where you can work with hot ingredients. And you want associated workspace on either side. I've never met anyone who doesn't need to wash a dish occasionally in their kitchen, so thinking about having both a sink, an associated dishwasher, this is standard these days, although most mid-century houses didn't come with them built in. When you're thinking about dishwashers, think about access and corners. It's ideal to be able to go from rinsing something in a sink to rotate and not step to put something into the dishwasher. It's also ideal to be able to pull something out of the dishwasher and put dishes or utensils back away where they go. Being able to hit both of those at once might not be possible for you, but try not to box your dishwasher into a corner so only one person can work on it. This removes opportunities for collaboration. And try to make sure that your dishwasher is oriented to the side of your kitchen where you're going to put things away. Beyond those basics, though, you may also have some specialized zones. What kind of cooking activities take place in your kitchen? Are you a baker? Are you processing a lot of goods straight out of the garden for long-term storage? Are you making food ahead for the week in bulk or sorting it out for multiple household members? Any kind of meal prep activity takes more counter space than doing one meal at a time. You're going to want to tune your kitchen for the life you lead in it. A person who makes a lot of from scratch meals and plans them out through the entire week is going to need different amounts of counter space and orientations in their kitchen than someone who likes to taste test every takeout opportunity in town, whose needs will basically be to reheat food and to store it. It's really helpful to have associated storage for specific work tasks close to the work surface at hand. For example, it's really handy to have all your pots and pans, particularly when they're heavy, close to your hot cooking surface. This is one of the reasons why I like to separate a cooktop from an oven, do a wall oven somewhere in the kitchen, and a cooktop set into the counter where we can have drawer units below so you can easily grab your pots, pans, and lids. If you prefer a combined unit, that's fine. Just look for an adjacent storage space as close as possible. One other thing that wasn't accommodated in the kitchen work triangle concept because it didn't exist then is the microwave. The place of the microwave is a question that I ask every client to give me insight into individually because some people do not cook with a microwave, don't need it, don't have it in the house. Some people use it sporadically for a few things. Other people use it for nearly every cooking task. Does it belong, as it's shown in many sort of magazine quality kitchens, as an integrated unit with the oven? Is that going to mean it's inaccessible to kids in the household being able to reheat once they are of an age appropriate for that? Is your microwave associated with a particular time of day or task most strongly? I, for example, use mine most often for breakfast. So I personally keep my microwave on the counter, because I have a mid-century kitchen that didn't plan for one, right next to a line of all of my oatmeal ingredients. So mornings are really a no-brainer as I'm rushing back in from the dog park and headed for my desk. Now, I just listed a lot of different types of kitchen zones, and you don't actually need to have them all in separate places around your kitchen. If two kitchen tasks happen at different times of the day, they could happen in the same spot. So if you're dealing with a small kitchen, or if you're just looking to make small changes to your kitchen, you might not need to create a different area for each one of those zones. You just want to make sure that all of those different opportunities are covered by the work surfaces in your kitchen. Ask yourself if you've got the right work surfaces for most of your daily, weekly, and seasonal kitchen tasks, and at a minimum, try to find at least one space that you can identify or add where not only can you spread out and get a task a little bit messy, but you can look out at distance, either into the house or out a window while you do. This can be a game changer for a small mid-century kitchen. If there's no counter surface that you have where you can make eye contact with another person and carry on a conversation or look at distance, you probably want to be doing a little bit of rearranging of your kitchen footprint. Next up is storage, and I know we already tapped into this as we were talking about work surfaces. Storage can be a very similar category because it is specific to you. One of the first questions I ask a new client when I'm thinking about their kitchen is if they are a Costco family or not. People who are bringing in bulk items into their house may absolutely need a completely different arrangement of their kitchen, or what happens more often in a mid-century house is we create the sort of daily use kitchen storage, and then we have a separate bulk storage area somewhere not too far from the kitchen, but not taking up valuable kitchen real estate at the same time. If you've been living with a kitchen closet style pantry for a while, you may have made your peace with it, but you might also find that it's helpful instead to think about reallocating that space, perhaps opening up between that and the room beyond it, turning that into a counter area, and finding other spaces for dense little pockets of storage of different categories. You might put all your pantry goods in one place and your coffee supplies in another. If you have a mixed drink station in your kitchen, rather than in the living room or den or some other part of the house, that might be stored in a different area than a lot of your other kitchen supplies. Think about the way that tasks are layered within your household, particularly if you've got kids being encouraged to collaborate in cooking tasks or two adults working on different kitchen tasks at the same time, separating out the storage needs for those different tasks so you're not crossing each other's paths. Don't cross the streams. In order to get breakfast ready in one area while lunches are being packed or meals for the week are being planned in another spot, you want to have those storage spaces on opposite sides of the work surface. This is a great place to reflect on your own household's rhythms and routines, and on any particularly convenient or clever kitchen solutions you remember from your own past life or your childhood. There's the example of where you keep your eating utensils. There's a couple of different ways to slice it. Some people might want to keep those very close to the washing up station. So when you're unloading the dishwasher at the end of the night or in the morning, you're bopping things right away to where they go. And then you can pick them up from their dishwasher adjacent surface and take them to the eat-in kitchen, to the dining room, to set the table for each meal. For other people, it actually makes more sense to store those things closer to where they're used. Some mid-century kitchens have this fun U-shaped alignment with an eat-in kitchen next to it, and in those cases, you will sometimes see a push-through drawer that opens from both sides. So you can load from the dishwasher into one side and then pull from it to grab a spoon for breakfast cereal on the other side. If you've got a detail like that in your kitchen that still works, I encourage you to hang on to it. Some things may end up being stored on your kitchen counter surfaces. I recommend this not happening with too many items or you'll get a very cluttery look, but for every family, there's going to be a different rule about what small appliances or what key ingredients or what elements always sit out versus needing to be put away every time. Finding the balance between what feels handy and what feels like instant clutter is a choice you're going to have to make for yourself, and it is another question that tends to come up for me when I'm talking to my clients about what I need to know in order to design functional, probable kitchens for them to choose among. So ask yourself this: have you got easy access to all the stored items you need to do every kitchen task close to the place where you will do that task? Look, getting steps is a great way to measure your overall health, but this is where the kitchen work triangle had a good idea. You don't want to have to go on a hike to get all of the ingredients you need for breakfast every morning. All the things you use regularly should be grouped closely to the place where they will be used. I could stop right there. We've got work surfaces and storage covered. That's all you need to do to turn ingredients into dinner. But a modern kitchen also needs to be a place that's fun to hang out in. And when I'm talking about kitchen hangout spots, I want us to think beyond the simple bar stool. The bar stool pulled up into an island can be lovely, can be a great place to carry out a task, to check your laptop, to hang out with a cook, but it doesn't evoke the coziness, the true comfort of some of our better eat-in kitchen solutions. I'm not anti-bar stool, by the way, but I do want you to design your bar stool setup for success. Make a space for at least two to be pulled up and tucked in side by side, and give yourself enough knee room. A bar stool with no knee overhang whatsoever is desperately uncomfortable, but it's almost as bad to just have 12 inches of depth. I like to aim for 15 inches minimum, ideally 18, sometimes a full 2 feet counter depth underneath. That gives you plenty of space to both push the bar stools completely out of the lane of traffic when they're not in use, and to pull up a stool without having to hunch over or trying to do the splits against a counter in order to get comfortable. As we look beyond just bar stools and islands, that sort of modern solution to the problem, I think it's important to consider eat-in spaces in a mid-century kitchen. Now, this probably means we're borrowing adjacent space to expand the conceptual envelope of the kitchen. A mid-century kitchen is just the kitchen. It's usually a pretty squared off rectangle. It was also pretty common though for mid-century houses to have an adjacent eat-in space, not really quite a formal dining room, but a place for a table with a pendant light, chairs pulled around, often separated by a peninsula. This may be a good idea. One of my favorite tricks, though, to make that a truly comfortable space is to augment it with a built-in bench, maybe just a single line, maybe an L of perhaps even upholstered furniture, sometimes with drawer storage underneath. This can create a space that's truly comfortable to hang out in. It's a space where you want to do your homework, you want to take your work from home time, where you want to spread out and do a project, play a game of cards, or eat in the kitchen footprint. This video is listing off all my favorite concepts with a few visual examples associated. If you've got a challenging kitchen layout to work with, it's been remodeled before or it's just very small, I would love to go deeper into solutions for kitchen spaces at the live event I'm hosting this Saturday, the 16th. I'll be deep diving into hundreds of examples from real-world mid-century kitchen updates I have designed, kitchens large and small, time capsule, remodeled and flipped. You will probably see a kitchen that started out looking a lot like yours and a number of ideas for what you can do with it at that clinic. I'll also be walking everybody that attends through a mini master plan process focused on kitchens, thinking about priorities, style, the existing house, workshopping a couple of layout options, and then setting up a master plan for how to take on a 1x1x1 tweaking project of DIY updates or plan for a bigger transformation that will be handled by a contractor. In both cases, you really want to have a big vision of everything that's going to happen so that you can make sure it happens in the right order and as you imagined it. I'd love to have you join me for this live class. Show up with your hopes and dreams for your kitchen, your wish list. A floor plan wouldn't hurt, even if it's just chicken scratch or graph paper. And also with your pressing kitchen questions. Throughout this workshop, I take questions from the homeowners that are there about what's going on in their process, answering as many as I can during the course of the 2 hours. And then I always stick around afterwards to clear up all of the outstanding issues that remain. So if you have questions, if you've got troubles, if you've got worries about a mid-century kitchen, this is really your best way to get access with me face-to-face or, through a Zoom camera and get your questions answered. It's also certainly the most cost-effective way to get my design advice for your kitchen. Details for that clinic are in the video description below, or you can just go to midmod-midwest.com/clinic to register. One more quick kitchen hangout piece of advice before I go. If you don't have space for an eat-in, if you don't have room for even a table and a couple of chairs in your kitchen, you can also think about what would be comfortable for someone to just literally pull up a chair and hang out with you. You don't have to go modern bar stool and you don't have to go dinette table. You could put an armchair in your kitchen. Tuck a built-in bench into a window push-out or along a wall at the end of a range of counters. Someplace where you can sit and be comfortable for a moment. This might be for someone who wants to hang out with a cook, or it might be for the cook themselves to take a minute to sit down, scroll through a recipe, or just wait for the water to boil or the timer to go off. When you've planned the best possible remodel for your kitchen and finished it, you're going to want to hang out there as much as possible. So why not plan a cozy, comfortable space to do that? With all the advice on great lighting and great space planning for your kitchen from the last two videos, the one thing that we haven't really talked about is what your kitchen looks like. The surfaces, the finishes that are going to make it really shine and also fit in properly with the mid-century details that are in the rest of your house. It's so easy for a kitchen to time travel in and out of style with the house it's built into, and there's so much kitchen advice that tells you to treat your kitchen like it's completely disconnected from the rest of the house. If you want to plan an update for your mid-century kitchen that suits the house's mid-century nature, but also your style, I'll be talking about some great finish choices for mid-century kitchens next week. See you there.